South Korea's national women's softball team felt this year that they were ready to try and win their first ever medal at the Asian Games in Hangzhou. But to do that, they decided they needed some outside help as well. So they reached out to our touch base in Seoul yesterday, coach Scott Cranford, who has successfully coached and developed athletes at all levels for over 20 years now. And I'm delighted to say that he joins us in this show to talk about his career and what he can bring to the South Korean national team. Coach Cranford, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here.
So it's an honor to have you on the show today. Can you tell us a bit about your coaching career? I understand that you've been coaching softball for 27 years now?
Yes, quite a long time. My first official coaching experience began with my oldest daughter, Miranda, who expressed when she was young that she was interested in playing softball at our local recreation league. And so she played there, and I coached her teams. And then after watching her older sister play, with my youngest daughter, Madison, also wanted to enter the sport. And so she also began playing, and I coached her. You know, in the United States, we have a couple different levels of softball. When they're young, we call it recreational. And then they get into what we call competitive level, travel ball. And so I coached both my daughters at both levels, and I continued to coach and manage a number of softball teams after they graduated high school, and then both went on to play college softball. Miranda played at George Mason University, and Madison is just finishing up at Brown University.
What was it about softball that you enjoyed coaching? What was it that kept you going all these years?
It's a fun sport. My background, I played 2 college sports, and my background really was well fitted towards softball because my favorite sport is actually basketball, which is a very fast sport, and
Sure.
softball is very much like that. Growing up, I actually played baseball, and that was my best sport, but to be honest, the game was kind of long and boring as a little kid.
Sure.
As a little kid, and so anyhow, softball was something not only could you enjoy with your daughters, your whole family could participate in the United States is very much like that. So that was just very intriguing to me. And then as I got into it, it became very much a personal challenge. And as an executive in industry at the time, it provided me kind of a platform to learn about coaching that I also applied in my executive role.
So you've been coaching all this time. US, obviously, the main centre for softball, really. Perhaps Canada as well. I understand there is a league in Japan. But what is the softball scene like around the world?
Well, it's growing. Softball, obviously, there's a big history in the United States with softball. Softball began years and years ago, very much, as I explained, in local recreational leagues, and then players that wanted a more competitive level would go off and play travel ball, and then the best of those players would have an opportunity to play into college. So currently, there's about 460,000 U.S. softball players in high school. Of those, only about 8.6%, roughly 40,000 of those players, have an opportunity to go and play in college at some level. So it was just a very exciting sport for me, and to help then these young people grow and develop was the real satisfying part of coaching, was to help them pursue their goals of playing a college softball, which I had the privilege of playing myself, and it's a very difficult path in the U.S. So because the odds were against them, a lot of them sought me out to help them get there, and it's very, very fulfilling.
Okay, so let's talk about what prompted you to then come to South Korea. First, how did you get approached to come to South Korea?
Well, I was approached through one of my clients, a player, Nicole Rue. Nicole's parents contacted me because I had trained her, and Nicole had actually played for one of my travel ball teams.
Right.
And so she had contacted me and said she'd give my name to Mr. Lee at KBSA. They were searching for potentially a resource that had the experience and background and track record to help them. So I had then conversations and multiple in-person interviews with KBSA, Mr. Lee staff.
Had you taken on a challenge like this before, where you've gone outside of North America to coach a team?
Absolutely not. This is my very first one, and it's exciting, but that's why I did it. So at my stage of my career, having done this for a very long time and had a lot of success in the U.S. with teams and players, I decided to take on this challenge because first and foremost, I believe in work ethic is a foundational need for any success in sports. And Korea has an excellent reputation for work ethic. So I thought we could see how this goes, and they need the help.
Were you ever worried about the language barrier or differences in culture?
I was very much worried about the language barrier. I have a funny story with that. I may not plague you with it, but I did have a concern about the language barrier. And so, but I was assured by Mr. Lee and the KBSA staff that they would provide me the support I needed to be successful, which they have certainly done, and they've been excellent hosts. So I've been extremely satisfied, and actually my expectations have been exceeded with regards to the support I've received. And it's different. We're kind of setting the groundwork. Like you said, I just arrived in April 19th. So I'm observing, I'm learning. There's a lot of cultural, education that needs to take place on both sides. And then obviously learning the translation relationship. So that's going very well. And actually what's really interesting to me is a number of the people I've interacted with the softball team, coaching staff, and KBSA, all seem to be motivated to learn a little bit more English as I'm motivated to learn some Korean.
You talked about expectations. What expectations did you have coming into it? Did you know anything about South Korean softball?
What I knew about South Korean baseball is obviously what I could research with their record, team record, performance in previous tournaments. I do a lot of research because of my background in industry. Sure. So I did a significant amount of research. I reached out to other colleagues of mine who've had international experience. And so I had, I think, a relatively good picture of Korean softball, but once I've arrived here, I've learned additional things.
Sure. As you said, you arrived in South Korea on April 19th, so you've not been with the team too long, just a few weeks now.
Yes.
What have you found so far? What areas do you think the team needs improving the most?
Well, I think I'd begin by saying what they have. They have excellent work ethic and they have excellent character. Both of those things are essential to building success. So I think the team is at first a little what we'll call shell-shocked, a little surprised with the intensity of the athletic work that I require as a coach. I'm known for that in the United States, and I'm known for that now here, is that I always tell players, it's not enough to be a good softball player. You must be an elite athlete. So you must be strong, you must be fast, you must be agile. That takes work.
You are also brought in to, as we mentioned at the beginning, to try and help South Korea win a medal for the Asian Games. But there has been a bit of a span in the works. Not long after you came to Korea on April 19th, on May 6th, it was announced the Games had been postponed due to the COVID-19 situation in China at the moment. Currently, there is no date set. First, what is your reaction to this news?
First of all, it's not shocking or surprising given our environment of COVID. We've had disruptions throughout the world for the last few years, as well as in the United States. I think people are adapting, and you just have to respect countries' regulations and rules and decisions as opposed to their public safety. So that's where I emotionally responded. As far as the team, the strategy remains the same. The players need to be trained. We need to get the process in place and execute that process in order to achieve the results we want.
I assume that you might have had a more short-term strategy because the Asian Games, they were coming up in September, but now they have it postponed. Do you have a more long-term strategy? Has that changed or shifted somewhat?
That's an excellent question. No and yes.
No, and yes.
Well, the reason the timeline is unknown. So I still have to assume we have a short timeline. So, for example, when you're training athletes and you want a significant improvement or an improvement in, let's say, speed, people think, well, it's technique. No, it's probably 6 to 9 months of hard work. So with these athletes, a lot of things are very new to them. I'm definitely introducing them to a much higher level of the game, much faster. And we've been doing some things to introduce them to that level. And they've been responding very well, but they also responded predictably at first. So a little surprised that, they haven't seen, 63, 65 mile an hour breaking balls. That is a little bit challenging. But after experiencing that more and more, they adapted to it and they were having success in that scenario. So the long term is to not just grow or be successful with the national team, but to kind of grow a program, a legacy that leads up to the 2028 Olympics.
Right.
So this is just part of the process to me. The Asian Games is a qualifier for the World National Championships with the WBSC. So I don't have any information with regards to any decisions that they're making. I do understand that they will have meetings and discussions, and they will have to come up with some potential alternative dates, postponement of the Asian Games, potentially an international qualifier for the World Championships. The goal remains the same, is to put this team in position to earn a top 3 spot so that they could qualify for the World Championships. So nothing changes with regards to that.
Sure, it's more about, I guess, changing the philosophy of how the game is played here, rather than just a short-term success.
Yes, and educating people on the need. Like Japan's done an extremely good job, and their success reflects that with regards to the long-term commitment to the sport. Not everybody understands. I actually go back enough time to see the sport in its infancy, and so and I've been mentored by coaches who started it. So it's been very sobering to see the process, but very exciting. So this year alone, like ESPN is scheduled to broadcast over 2,000 games. The very first game ESPN broadcast at the women's championships, college World Series, was in the year 2000, even though they had broadcasting rights 21 years prior to that.
Wow, okay.
So since 2000, this sport has grown as the 4th largest revenue-producing sport in U.S. college sports.
So there's definitely, it's been growing, and there's definitely more room to grow, especially on the international level as well, I'm guessing.
Yes.
From what you've seen so far, it's been a very short time, but are you confident that South Korea has what it takes?
I think with the right commitment, yes. I think that still is going to be the question. Will South Korea be able to make that long-term commitment and develop the talent? First of all, just like in our country, we had to recruit the talent in the young players. So you had to create an environment where the sport was interesting enough, challenging, exciting, fun. So you need lots of participation at that level. And then once you have that, and then you can demonstrate opportunity at the older ages, then I think you're on a path to success. But that's work to be done.
And in the meantime, I understand the team is planning to participate in the Canada Cup International Softball Championship. Is that still going to happen? Yes,
Canada Cup that's a very well established event. We definitely we're registered. We will play there. I will be with the team in Canada. So you will be facing some of the world's top competition there.
It's going to be a good test then.
Extremely good test. I mean, when people ask me all the time, the United States is, ranked number 1. That to me is somewhat meaningless. I would say that Japan won the gold medal. Okay, so any good team, top team, can beat another top team any day of the week. So I think that's what makes the sport exciting. So I think the U.S. has some advantages, definitely, but I don't think the gap is that large anymore.
Well, it's been fascinating to talk to you today, to learn about what you're doing for the South Korean softball team, and we wish you luck with it and really hope that we do see some success soon as well. We've been speaking to the coach of the South Korean national women's softball team, Scott Cranford. Thank you once again for your time today.
Thank you very much for having me.